Hello, everyone. Tammy stole my first question, which was how many of you have heard of Justworks, are on Justworks? But I am a senior product manager at Justworks, and for those of you who are unfamiliar, Justworks makes it easy for small and medium businesses to pay their employees, to offer them best-in-class benefits, and to take care of all of their HR needs so that small businesses can focus on growing, building their product, and leave all of the complicated stuff to us. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the problem of saving customers money and if that is worth it, and really to understand how to quantify that problem. To start, I want to talk about the IRS, and specifically, I want to talk about the feeling that you all just got when I said I want to talk about the IRS. So I hear you, some of you probably just took out your phones, some of you are like, how close am I to a door? And I hear you, and I feel the same way. It's the same feeling that you all get probably when you think about renewing your driver's license or filing a health insurance claim or going through all of those kind of cumbersome and anxiety-inducing moments in your life. And that feeling is avoidance. And what we all know is that avoidance, it leads to suboptimal decisions. So at its very best, avoidance might mean that you didn't get your New York ID, and so you paid full price at the Met. I did that last weekend. But at its worst, it might mean that you have a very, very painful tax day where you find out that you owe the IRS a ton of money. It might mean that you get hit with a really large health insurance bill. And so at its worst, it can be a really uncomfortable and sometimes kind of life-altering moment. And so what does this all have to do with Justworks and building products? Well, Justworks, in our mission and at our very core, we are trying to create confidence and delight through simplicity and expertise. And we do that by being a buffer between our customers and entities like the IRS and health insurance companies, life insurance companies, very worthwhile institutions, but that often create that feeling of avoidance and the institutions that people just don't really want to have to think about. And so we do that by making sure that when our users have to think about these things, that they just have to interact with Justworks. They don't necessarily have to go directly to the IRS or to those institutions. And so I'm going to go back to the IRS. I know you really wanted me back at the IRS. You're welcome. But I do want to talk a little bit about how Justworks creates that buffer between our customers and the IRS. To explain that, I have to explain one of our products, and that is our 401k product. We enable employers to offer a 401k to their employees. So maybe you work at a 10-person startup and you didn't expect to have a 401k. Well, through Justworks, your employer can give you a 401k. And employees can then say, I want a certain amount of my paycheck to come out and to go into a 401k account. But what people do not know is that the IRS has very specific and nuanced rules and regulations about how much you can contribute each year, how much your employer can match. And if you don't know those rules, you could violate them and you could be hit with a pretty painful tax penalty. Last year, we found out that our members, a sizable number of them, had over-contributed to their 401ks just because they didn't know about these rules that the IRS had. And that resulted in about a $250,000 tax penalty spread across a number of members. And that is definitely a problem. But as a product manager, the question is that a problem that my team should solve? You know, on the one hand, our customers aren't coming to us and saying, I'm going to pay you to make sure that I don't step on the landmines that are associated with being an adult and like navigating paying taxes and all that stuff. But on the other hand, they entrust us with things like 401k and health insurance. And for us to deliver on our brand promise of creating that confidence, we have to be watching their back and covering their bases, even the bases that they don't know exist. And so as a product manager, the question is like, okay, I'll quantify the problem. That's how I'll decide if I'm going to solve it, if it's worthwhile. And you might be saying, oh, Julia, it's like not that hard. You just said the problem's $250,000. Like that's a number. We love numbers. It's easy. But our customers weren't saying, Justworks, why didn't you solve this for us? And they definitely were not saying, we'll pay you $250,000 to solve this. And I think that a lot of these product problems fall into this space, which is to say that solving this problem wasn't one that I could point to one of those growth metrics that we're all after. I couldn't say that solving this problem would increase our addressable market, affect our acquisition cost, or how much we retain our customers. And so even when there's not really an opportunity to monetize, and when it's kind of difficult to look at a problem and draw a straight line to one of those top-line revenue metrics or something that we all care about, the business case we want to bring to stakeholders and say, like, this is rock solid, trust me, we should solve this. Even when a problem is not one of those problems, I think it's really, really important for product people to ask the question, what is the value of building goodwill with our customers? And the value of building goodwill is that when I show your company logo, people aren't like, oh my God, I'm gonna leave, like I don't want to engage with that. The value of goodwill is that when they see your logo, they feel at ease, they feel more confident. And so Justworks obsesses over creating that feeling of confidence. And so my team, we decided this was worthwhile to solve, and we put up all of these guardrails to make sure that our users didn't make these unknowing and kind of painful errors. And what I would say is that that value, that goodwill, what it does is, for Justworks, it has translated into a ton of brand currency. And that brand currency is really hard to measure, but it has really affected those growth metrics, like the markets that we can sell into and how long our customers are going to stay with us. And so what I would say is one of the biggest takeaways from this project and from my time at Justworks is just that a lot of times these problems that fall into this space where there's not a tangible way of drawing a line to those growth metrics, they're really worth solving, and they are the things that your users are going to notice and the reason why they are going to have that feeling of like ease when they interact with your product. Thank you.